On this video, I would like to go back to a grammatical analysis that I started on Homer's Iliad, and we worked our way up to lines 84 to 91. We've done previous inductive grammatical analysis of the words as we come to them and of the grammar. What I'm doing, I am using the classic interlinear translations of Homer, uh, following the Hamiltonian method, where the words are put, or Homer is put in an English style that's easy to follow to pick up vocabulary and grammar. And this was first published in 1888. And what I'd like to do is continue those that are working in Homer, and I'm just doing this. I'm just learning really the classical Greek. I did my major study in New Testament Greek, and then of course Hebrew and ancient Near Eastern languages. But this is a challenge to me to try to continue developing. I'm in retirement I was a former seminary professor. So what I'm doing is just enjoying going through the Greek text and looking at the grammar. I would encourage anyone listening to go to other places where the Homer is read in Greek, the poetry of Homer, to pick up the hexameter and all of that. We're not doing that in these videos. Our purpose is to mainly teach basic grammar from Homer in an inductive kind of way. So we really have worked our way up to line 84. Let me just say this. The book that I'm using is in public domain, and it can be seen, I believe, on Google Books as well. So at any rate, we are picking up in line 84. Let me just set the stage, though, of where we have been. It's been a while. If anyone's interested, I'm just putting up some Akkadian grammar on the epilogue of Hammurabi, and doing the same thing, and also Hebrew grammar and Greek grammar, New Testament Greek, inductive grammar. But at any rate, we're at the point where the Caucasus is appealing to Achilles, and he wants to make sure that he will be safe if he gives the true, can I say, word, which would include Agamemnon and what he's done, as to why the plague is coming upon the Greeks. Picking up the context, O Achilles, dear to Zeus, you command me to say or to speak of the anger of Apollos, the far darting king. Therefore, I will tell you, or I'm going to tell you, but you attend and swear to me, give attention, and swear to me that truly, indeed, that you will promptly assist me with words and with hands. For I truly am thinking that a man who is about to be angry with rage, who is great in power over all the archives, over all the Greeks, and to him the Achaeans obey. And he's speaking of Agamemnon, in my understanding. For a king is more powerful when he is angry against an inferior man. For although even he should, for the moment, digest his anger, on the same day, but at least even afterwards, a short time afterwards, he has hatred in his breast until he might accomplish what he wants to do, and that is to hurt uh, Calchas if he gives this prophetic word. But you determine if you will save me. So he's asking Achilles to protect him from the wrath of Agamemnon. And so we pick it up at this point. De Achilles okos, but Achilles swift okos padas, swift as to feet, apamebamenos profere ton, answering spoke to him or addressed him. Apamebamenos is a participle. We have from the root apamebo, to answer. We're looking at a present middle participle, nominative masculine singular from apamebo. So answering addressed him. Prasefe, the root is pras, or the root is prosphemi, meaning to address. Here we have an aorist indicative active, third person singular from prosphemi. So he addressed him. Notice ton is the article functioning here as a personal pronoun, direct object of the verb prosephe. So he addressed him. And then Tharcesas mala, epe the aprapion. Having, when he took confidence, or having taken confidence, and notice tharceses is from the root tharseo, to take courage. And here we have an aorist participle, nominative masculine singular from tharseo. So take courage. Indeed, mala, or by all means, indeed, epe, speak or say the prediction. So he's being encouraged, the priest or Christus, to say the prediction, or Calchas, excuse me, to say the prediction. Notice ape is the aorist imperative, second masculine singular from lego. So speak or say, the apropion means prediction, or say the prediction. Ha ti, that which what, or we could translate this whatever, oista, whatever you have known. From oida, here we are looking at the perfect indicative middle, second person singular from oida. So, I'm sorry, from ado, whatever you know, from ado. So from ever you have known. So speak the prediction of what you know, is what Calchas is being encouraged to do. Gars u, for not ma Apollona, for not by Apollo, Philon dei, dear to Zeus, Hotesu Calcon, to whom you, O Calchas, praying, show predictions. Eukomenos anaphines the aprapias. Notice Hotep would be to whom. You, here we have the second person personal pronoun, you, O Calcus, we have an address here. Praying, show prediction. You go ahead and pray and show the prediction to the Greeks. Eukamenos is from eukamai, meaning to pray, and we have a participle, a present middle participle, nominative masculine singular from eukamai, praying. You show the predictions to the Danai, or to the Greeks. Anaphines is from anaphino. It is the present indicative active, second person singular from anaphino. You show theaprapias would be you show predictions. Here we have the accusative plural, the direct object of anaphines. You show predictions to the Danaoisim, the dative to the Greeks, dative plural. And no one of all the Danai, while I am living and seeing upon the earth, shall bring heavy hands near you. So he's being encouraged here to go ahead and speak. And he's being encouraged by Achilles. And Utis, no one of all the sumpanton here means all, or all collectively, of the Danaon, of the Danai. And here again we have the genitive plural. Emu zontas, while I am living and seeing. Notice we have here the genitive in emu, first personal pronoun, with the genitive participle in zontas and kamenoia. So while I am living and seeing, from zao, we have the present participle, genitive masculine singular in zontas. And here we have what is called a genitive absolute. So it stands by itself. While I am living and seeing upon the earth, no one will lay a heavy hand upon you, is what Achilles is saying. And notice Kai is just your conjunction. Der kamenoia, while I am living and while I am seeing. This is from derkamai, which means to see, genitive, another participle, genitive singular, middle, from derkamai. So while I am living and seeing, epi thothni, or thothni, while I am living upon the earth. The word for earth here, chthon, kathonos, would be the genitive, and here we have the dative, kathoni. While I am living upon the earth, shall bring on you heavy hands. Notice apoise is the future indicative active, third person singular from to bring upon. So no one shall bring upon to you, a dative in soy, sesu soy. So the dative shall bring heavy hands. Notice bareas keras. We have the accusative plural. No one will bring heavy hands, even including Agamemnon, will be told here. Near para koiles neesi, near the hollow ships. Koilas means hollow. So no one will bear heavy hands. And notice this comes from, by the way, epitheo, and apoiso is the future. which means bear against you. And that's, we've already said, that's the future indicative active third person singular. The root is epitheo. No one shall bear against you heavy hands. Bareas kairos, the accusative plural, the adjective bareas, heavy, and kairos, the noun meaning heavy hands, near the hollow ships. And here we have dative plural, koiles neusin. So no one's going to do that. I will protect you, in essence, is what Achilles is saying. Neither, if you should say Agamemnon, ein apes Agamemnon, Agamemnona. Notice ein is if you should say, from lego, the aorist subjunctive, second person singular from lego, even if you should say the fault is from Agamemnon, who now boasts to be much uh, the greatest of the Achaeans, or the most excellent of the Achaeans. Has is your relative pronoun. Noon, eukatai, is from eukamai, to boast. He himself is boasting. To be much the greatest. Here we have, or the noblest. We have a superlative use here of the adjective aristos. So he is boasting himself. The present indicative middle third person singular from eukamai. He is boasting to be the infinitive here in ani from ami, to be much the most excellent of the Achaeans, and the most excellent one. So we have this superlative adjective in aristos. So what he's saying is, I will protect you, and you don't have to worry. So as we go on, kaitata de amomon montes tarsese kai euda. And then, surely, or indeed, we should say, the blameless prophet, then he took confidence. Tharseo, this is the aorist indicative active third person singular. And from the word aldao, to speak, he was speaking. Imperfect indicative active third person singular. Uga ara uta epimephatai. Indeed, he indeed neither blames. Speaking of Apollo, epimephatai is the present indicative middle third person singular from the root to blame. He is neither, he does not blame on account of eukoles, of a vow. Maybe you've made a vow and you haven't carried it out, genitive singular in eukoles. Ute, neither hecatombe base, neither of a hecatomb, of an offering, a hecatomb offering that you failed to bring. Allah, kanaka areteras, but on account of the priest. So now we're getting down to what Agamemnon had done. On account of the priest, Han Agamemnon a timesin, whom, here we have the relative pronoun in the accusative singular, Agamemnon a timesin, whom Agamemnon dishonored. We remembered from the very beginning how he dishonored the priest who came, and about his daughter, and he refused to return her to her father. A temesa is from atemao. It is the aorist indicative active, third person singular. Nor to release her. Apeluse from apaluo, another aorist indicative active, third person singular. To release his daughter, Thugatra, and he did not receive the ransoms that he brought, that the priest brought. That's the reason, is what is being told now by Calchas. That's the reason for the plague and what is going on. Agamemnon is the problem. He dishonored and did not release his daughter, nor did he apedexata, is your aorist indicative middle third person singular from apodidomi, nor did he did not receive uh, not even the ransoms, apoina, which the priest had brought. On account of this, tunica ara hekebalas edokin. On account of this, indeed, the far darter, looking at Apollo here, sending his arrows, has given woes. Edokin algea. Edokin is from didomi. It's the aorist indicative active third person singular from didomi. Has given woes. And ede ete dose, and will still give. Again from didomi, a future indicative active third person singular. Nor will he hold back heavy hands of plague. Hoke means nor will he. Affexe is from affetemi, future indicative active third person singular. Heavy hands. Bereas keras is your accusative plural. Heavy hands. Of plague, another genitive. Loimoia, before that time, before that at least he give up. Apadamina, he give up from apadidumi, before to give up. Before that we give up, we could probably render it. It is a participle, um, plural, accusative, middle participle, that at least until we give up her to her dear father, to the father, to the dear father. Philo patri, both in the dative case. The rolling eyed, hell, looking at the daughter, Elekopuda Kurain, the rolling-eyed girl. Again, we're looking at the accusative and the girl that Agamemnon has taken. You have to give her back, is what is being said here to her father. Apriate anapoinon unbought, without ransom. In other words, just return her. And here we have the alpha privative before the root, priatein, and not poinon, without or unbought, without payment, without ransom, and to lead a sacred hecatomb offering unto Krissa. Again is your present infinitive from ago, to lead a sacred hecatombein unto Krissa. that would be a place here, that having been propitiated, by being propitiated, um, we might really persuade him. Um, it is interesting here, hilasamenoi is your aorist participle, masculine, aorist participle middle. Then having been propitiated, nominative masculine passive, that then having propitiated, or we could let me render it aorist middle participle, having propitiated ourselves would be the way I think we would render it. We might persuade. Patho, here we have the second aorist optative, we might persuade him to stop the plague. And men here is the direct object. The one thing that was striking to me as I was going through this is the word hilasamenoi, having propitiated by this offering. We might then persuade him, and I take the him to be Apollo here, to stop the plague, that we might propitiate ourselves, uh, satisfy the god Apollo with the offering, with the sacrifice, and doing what we're asked to do. It is interesting to me that as I read the New Testament Greek, the word hilaskomai that's used here has the idea of to uh, propitiate, to satisfy. And theologians debate back and forth what that means in the New Testament. And I think going to a text like this helps me to understand that we're talking about satisfaction, propitiation. In 1 John 1, or 1 John 2, excuse me, he's not only the hilasmos for our sins, but for the whole world, speaking of Jesus and what he has done and his sacrifice. And it is interesting to me that in Romans chapter 3, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption which is in Christ Jesus, whom God has set forth as a hilasterion, and that's the interesting, the Septuagint, it's the word that translates the Hebrew kafar, and it looks at the lid in the Holy of Holies, where the blood of the goat that the high priest would bring once a year was sprinkled. And scholars debate, does that mean expiate, to remove, or propitiate? And I honestly think it has both meanings. Propitiate leads to expiation. So propitiation, and I would go back to a text like this and to other classical uses of hilaskomai, which means to satisfy or to propitiate. And so it's my own thinking that in Romans 3, Paul uses the word hilasterion, having a double meaning of propitiation and expiation, satisfaction and expiation, which comes through the sacrifice of Christ. And that's why we can be acquitted, because he's already done that propitiatory work. So it's interesting. I came across this word as I was doing this, and my mind reflected back to the New Testament and to that word hilasmos, and what hilaskomai I think actually means. And then, of course, going back to the Septuagint, the same idea, and the Hebrew kafarak, from kafar. Well, thank you. I hope this helps somebody. I'm enjoying challenging myself to read through Homer's Greek. And I would simply say this, listen to someone that reads the poetry to pick up the rhythm hexameter. I was not trained in any of that. What I'm enjoying is just really learning to read Homeric Greek by learning the grammar and working at the vocabulary. Vocabulary is major, and that's the major difference, I think, between the Koine New Testament. The words that Homer uses just go on and on. And he must have had, he really did have an immense vocabulary. It sort of reminds me, if anyone's interested, of the Hebrew that I'm doing in the book of Job. I'm trying to go through Job and look at every word grammatically from the Hebrew. And Job is a classic in Hebrew, just like Homer is a classic in Greek literature, or Virgil in Latin. But it's interesting. If anyone would have an interest, I'm putting out on YouTube the reading of Job in Hebrew, and trying to do the same thing. But Greek, at least classical Greek, I never really had my training in classical Greek. It was like I said, my first doctorate was in biblical studies, my second was in Hebrew, an ancient Near Eastern languages. But in this day of retirement, I'm enjoying trying to get back to what Thoreau said, where he said, spend your hours, your morning hours, and this is more than morning, it's in the afternoon, but spend your hours reading Homer, because what is Homer but the greatest kind of text in Greek that one could read? So at any rate, uh, I I hope this helps somebody. I find working through the grammar to be essential to read any text, uh, to really know the grammar. And so I'm teaching myself. Thank you. I hope this is helpful.